Many people are heavily dependent on public housing throughout America. While public housing has a bad reputation of being a place known for low income and outrageously high crime rates, some public housing authorities are exactly that way. And then there are also some public housing authorities that are the total opposite. This slideshow will give pictures of how public housing can be harmful and how it can be helpful. With public housing being something that people assume to be bad, showing others that everything they hear may not always be true. Once home to thousands of people in the city of Chicago, one of America's biggest cities, stood Cabrini Green Housing Authority. Before the last apartments were torn down in 2010, Cabrini Green was once one of the worst housing authorities in America. Over the years, the living became worse. Rundown buildings, high poverty with high crime rate, to go along with all the things I mentioned before, is the drug and gang activity that also troubled the recently demolished Chicago Housing Authority. With Cabrini Green, you can see how much different it looks than Parkland Housing of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Parkland has a community center, daycare center, YMCA, and a state-of-the-art cyber school. As you can see in this picture, the living is a lot better than many of the other housing authorities throughout America. The crime, gang activity, and drugs are not as big in this area. Then there's Magnolia Projects of New Orleans, Louisiana. It has produced many famous rap stars. The other side is how violent this area was. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, the notoriously rough housing authority was shut down due to the damage. Before the hurricane came and wrecked the city, Magnolia was already a tough place to grow up in. The high crime rate and explosive murder rates made it one of the country's worst projects, even being ranked in the world before it was closed down. Casa Feliz Studios of San Jose, California is another example of public housing that is the opposite of what we normally think. This 60-unit energy-efficient building has great looks and is very affordable. The crime and high murder rates do not affect these areas, but they are public housing just like the ones I mentioned above. It is eco-friendly and very modernized compared to many of the older housing places. It was recently built, unlike many others that are now being demolished or closed. This picture here shows the budget for public housing in the United States. As you can see, a lot of money goes to the housing authorities throughout America. Millions of dollars are poured into this government assistance program. With so many housing developments being torn down or closed, money can be spent to make those that are still open possibly look much better. With the nation's most populated city and the nation's biggest housing authority to go along with it, the crime in New York City public housing has increased. The chart shows how the crime has risen by just a little bit. Some areas of crime have grown considerably throughout the city, while other areas have dropped. Since having the most people living in public housing, one would expect them to have a higher crime rate based on the fact that there are millions of people basically living on top of one another. Those millions of Americans living in public housing are also children. Children are affected just as adults, but are too young to know it. Public housing to them is home, and they do not understand why it is being torn down or why they are being moved. The picture shows a kid from public housing. He does not know that his area may be dangerous. He just wants his house back to continue being. For more information, visit hud.gov, and thank you for listening and watching my slideshow.